Going into the wild.
Hello and welcome to Squatchspot.com. I'm Darrin Smith.
And I'm Allie Oldfield.
And we are happy to report that the two of us have been able to rendezvous. We are in the what forest?
Stanislaus National Forest.
That is where we're at. I can't say it, but Allie can pronounce it. And we have rendezvoused here to do some squatching. And I have been out here in 2013. I was on an expedition in this area, and I was able to obtain some really amazing audio recordings from that trip. I had a possible sighting that trip, and we had a lot of activity around the base camp. So we're actually returning to that location, and we're meeting a fellow squatcher at that location. But Allie and I definitely wanted to take this opportunity to make a video. And we're excited because the last time I was here in 2013, it was actually a full moon, and tonight's a full moon as well.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so a lot of squatchers like to base their trips around the full moon because they think there's a lot more Sasquatch activity during the full moon. So that is why we're here this week. And so, Miss Allie, what have you been up to?
Oh, not a whole lot. Been streaming on Twitch a little bit here and there, but COVID has really shut down everything, so...
So share with them your Twitch and how they can get a hold of you there.
Oh, yes. So I stream mainly Escape from Tarkov right now, which is a video game, and you could just go to Twitch. My name is Allie8080 on Twitch, ALLI8080. So yeah, if you're into video games, definitely check it out.
Yeah, her channel is definitely rocking. It's really great to watch her get out there and use the combat skills that she has learned to take out the various enemy targets that she's after. And I'm kind of hoping that she's going to be able to utilize those skills here in this top secret location to help us track down a Sasquatch. And we have had activity in the past. I mean, we had some good stuff going on down by Bass Lake, down in the Goat Mountain area. So I'm really thrilled to have Allie around. The whole COVID situation has been really unpleasant for a lot of people, and everybody's emotions have just been kind of on edge. I don't know how you're faring up in it all.
Well, it's definitely going to be really good to get out of the house and be out in the forest. So I'm really happy to be out here.
Awesome, and I'm thrilled to be out here as well. So we're excited to get into the woods, and we're running a little behind schedule because my new GPS unit did not like the old school global coordinates I was punching in. So we were on a little bit of a mountain exploration as we're pulling into the area. But we are at the location now, and we just have a little ways to go to get to our base camp. So I say we get on it.
Let's do it.
Alrighty, and we're happy to have you guys joining us on this adventure. When I first moved into my home in the Yosemite foothills, Allie was still living in the area, and she joined me a number of times out in the field. And while conducting night maneuvers on the infamous Goat Mountain, we had some very interesting happenings, and we also obtained some very intriguing audio recordings after Allie had made a couple of whoops. Whoop! Whoop! The audio recordings have been reviewed, and there is very compelling evidence that supports the vocalizations could have come from a Sasquatch. Goat Mountain has had numerous sightings in recent years, and I have had a number of interesting encounters there while conducting field research. As I mentioned previously, the area we are now investigating was a base camp for an expedition I was on in 2013. Here I discovered some very intriguing footprint tracks, had a possible sighting, and while out conducting night maneuvers, I captured some very curious audio recordings that some believe may have come from a Sasquatch. The siren-like vocalization came from a distant ridge, and it is strange to say the least. However, it does fall within speculative Sasquatch vocalization capabilities, and coupled with the significant activity we had during that expedition and the subsequent vocalizations heard and or captured on audio, I would say this vocalization was very intriguing. So I'm setting up my tent in kind of a strategic way, and I'm going to share that with you. But the idea is there's a lot of activity coming down off this ridge behind me here, and it comes down to roughly this road that I'm standing on. And I have set up my tent alongside of the road here, but I did so in a strategic way, and I'm going to show you what I'm looking at here. So I have my tent here, and I have my vehicle parked right behind it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be setting up a trail cam camouflaged amongst my vehicle, and I'm going to have the camera situated so it can keep my tent in view, and I'm hoping that the Sasquatch will come down off the ridge behind us here, come down to investigate the camp. And by camouflaging the trail cam among the vehicle, they may overlook it. Now, there's a lot of debate about how the Sasquatch can become aware of the cameras. Some researchers believe that they can see the illumination from the various technologies used, such as the infrared and so on. Other researchers believe they may be hearing something. So it is definitely a shot in the dark, but by camouflaging it among my vehicles, I'm hoping the idea is that they're going to think it's some part of the vehicle, and they're not going to be so apprehensive to approach it. But again, it's definitely a shot in the dark, because for sure, based on my camera project and the amount of information I'm receiving from other researchers, it's clear that the Sasquatch are aware of the game cameras. Are they seeing something or hearing something? That's definitely up for debate. But I've heard of this strategy before, and I am interested in setting up some game cams just to see if I can get any sort of activity. Even if it's other animal activity, it's nice to see what sort of animals are roaming about. So that's what the plan is. I've got my vehicle next to my tent. I'm going to have a trail camera strategically placed on the vehicle to hopefully conceal it a little better than just throwing it on a tree. And I'm going to have it positioned so it has my tent in view and also has the back area of the forest there in view as well. So it's a new strategy that I'm trying. Usually I don't set up my tent next to my vehicle, but we're going to give it a shot tonight, just because of the ideal situation, meaning the close proximity that the vehicle is to my actual camp. So we'll give it a shot. I haven't done it before, but we'll see how it works. All right, Allie and I have finished setting up our camp. We've had some dinner.
Yeah.
And Allie just had her first experience with Spam.
It was very salty.
And now we're gearing up to head into the field to do some night maneuvers. So far, it's been absolutely beautiful up here.
Yeah.
The temperature has been perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to getting out into the field and hopefully encountering ourselves a Sasquatch.
We're going into the wild.
That's right.
Okay, we're just shy of the witching hour, and we've been out doing some night maneuvers and flooring the area, but it's been really quiet tonight. But this area has had a tremendous amount of activity, and generally the activity starts rather late. So the prime Sasquatch hour is around 2 a.m., between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. So we have just decided to hunker down in our tents for a while, and we will be monitoring the area and the situation, and hopefully we'll get some sort of activity tonight. It is definitely chilly. We've got the multiple layers on, and we're all snug in our sleeping bags, so we're just going to hunker down right now and just lay low and see if we can have any activity this evening.
Alrighty, well, good morning. Allie and I have just woken up. We've been up for a little bit, but we had our breakfast, and we're just kind of touching base to see what went down last night. So what happened with you last night?
Well, I had a dream, which I couldn't tell if it was a dream or not when it was going on, but I had a dream that a bear was trying to get into my tent, and then when I woke up, I looked all around, but there was no bear tracks, so it must have been my dream.
And I had a similar situation you saw in a previous video where I thought something was trying to get in the tent, but the next morning I did look around and there were bear tracks, so yeah, it's always exciting to find that physical evidence to support what went on the previous evening. Did you have any Bigfoot type activity last night? Did you hear anything in the woods? Did you?
I heard quite a bit of thumping in that direction, but I couldn't tell if it was pine cones dropping from trees, or I couldn't tell what it was because I think I was still half asleep. But yeah, I was hearing quite a bit of noise this morning.
So it was like things falling, like thudding sounds?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because last night I seem to wake up when I'm on expedition. I seem to wake up just prior to 3 o'clock, usually like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I'm usually up until about 4:30. And last night I did wake up at that same time frame, and I had the parabolic microphone with me in the tent, but I had to tell you the parabolic microphone is absolutely useless in the tent because I have an inflatable mattress. Everything's inflatable. I've got the inflatable pillow, and any sort of movement, even as you're breathing, you're moving that inflatable mattress. And so there was just a lot of noise being amplified by the parabolic microphone, and I couldn't really get any clear sounds coming out of the forest. However, I did hear two faint, what sounded like wood knocks, but this was late. When was your sounds happening?
It was after the sun came up.
Okay, so the sun was already up. My thing happened, it was at that 2:30, 4 o'clock. It was somewhere in there where I was hearing that. But so the strategy tonight is with the parabolic microphone is I'm going to add the extension cords for them. I'm going to have the parabolic microphone actually situated outside of the tent, and I'm going to run the cables into the tent. So I'm going to leave the parabolic microphone on all night, so I'll be able to hear the sounds clearly from the tent. The only reason I didn't do that last night was because I'm just trying to conserve the battery life on that parabolic. But that's the plan for the night. Also, I had the game camera situated on my tent. We haven't looked at that yet, but we're going to wait until the sun goes down because it's always frustrating trying to use a field computer during the day when there's a lot of sunlight. So we're going to wait until the sun goes down, until it gets dark, and then we'll be checking out some of the camera footage on that. Pretty spectacular last night, the full moon.
Yeah, it was pretty bright out, even at night.
Yeah, it was pretty breathtaking. We watched the moon come up over on the horizon there, and there's still a lot of fires happening in California. So as it was coming up, the moon was really kind of a blood red color. It was really inspiring to see. And once it got up to a higher vantage point, it kind of cleared up a bit. But we did a little trekking last night. We headed up to some of the trails in the area just to kind of do some flooring and investigating. Nothing particularly squatchy last night. I think it was pretty quiet last night.
Yeah, pretty quiet, for sure.
Yeah, and the vibe definitely wasn't there. So we're hoping today that the plan is we're going to do some reconnaissance. We're going to scour the area, try to find any sort of physical evidence that they're around. And then tonight we'll continue with our night maneuvers for at least another evening. Allie and I are kind of flexible with our schedule. We're not sure if we're going to stay here an additional night, but we'll kind of play things by ear and see how it goes. So that's the plan for the day. And yes, no activity to really report of last night, but definitely a breathtaking location to be in. The forest up here is really healthy and looking good. There are quite a few dead trees around, but for the most part, this area, the Sierra Nevadas, has held up very nicely, and I would definitely like to get up here and do some more squatching in the future. So that's the plan for the day.
All right, let's
Should we
get
get
to
at
it.
it? Alrighty, we're
Yeah.
gonna get at it. So right now we're investigating this waterway. There's a small pond here, and we're just going around the banks to look for any sort of physical evidence that the Sasquatch may be in the area and utilizing this pond as a water source. And we have found tracks, a lot of tracks, mostly raccoon, but so far no evidence that the Sasquatch are using this as a water source, but that's not to say that they are not in the area. So we're going to continue our investigation of this pond and continue our investigation of the general area. So it's been a long day of trekking. We did some major treks around the camp and the surrounding areas, and now Allie and I have just finished another trek and we're heading back to the camp, but really didn't find any sort of physical evidence of Sasquatch activity at all. We did find, what did we find? Deer and
Yeah, deer and a bunch of cattle stomped through everything, so that's pretty much all we've been finding so
yeah,
far.
it definitely looks like the grazing area here is pretty widespread, because throughout the entire day we were walking through cow patties, but it doesn't look like they've been in the area recently. And
Right.
yeah, we're just heading back to the camp and considering maybe some dinner and maybe doing some night maneuvers a little later, but we're just kind of playing it by ear at the moment.
Yeah, we'll keep you tuned in if anything exciting happens tonight.
You heard her. We'll keep you filled in.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, good morning. We are waking up on our second morning here in this top secret area that we're not going to reveal. So, how did it go last night, Miss Allie? Did you sleep all right? Any weird noises in the woods?
Not too many weird noises last night. Yeah, I slept pretty good. But yeah, there was some activity over here in this direction last night, but like you said, it didn't sound like anything big.
Yeah, we did hear, I was using a parabolic microphone. We were sitting out at camp and we were hearing some movement over in this direction, and it's thick woods here. And it did sound stealthy, but it sounded small. It sounded like a deer, something like that. We made some vocalizations. Allie made a couple of whoops. Did you want to demonstrate your famed whoop?
Oh yeah, okay.
Whoop! Anything?
Nope.
And that's about how it was for our entire trip here. We really didn't feel that the Squatch were down at this elevation, but we are at a lower elevation, and we just didn't get the sense that the Squatch were around. And we did see that the area was pretty dry.
Yeah, but even though it was pretty dry, there are still deer tracks everywhere and a lot of like raccoon tracks everywhere.
Yeah, we did
But-
find at the water sources, we did find a lot of evidence that for sure there's animals in the area, but we kind of came to the conclusion that the Sasquatch are probably at those higher elevations.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you.
What do you think the temperature has been, like daytime temperature for us?
Oh, it's been like pretty nice, like 80s, maybe low 90s.
Okay, yeah, so it's been relatively warm, considering what I would think a Sasquatch would rather find itself in. So basically down here, I was just getting, it was a little hot, a little dry, and I definitely think that those Sasquatch moved up to the higher elevations. I think this is going to be a really strategic place maybe in a month from now.
Right.
Because I think as it starts cooling off, and we start getting some water in here, the Sasquatch are going to be moving down from the higher elevations and coming down into these lower valleys. But really a great location. I've been squatching here before on expedition, and we had a lot of activity back then. But I think that expedition was in June, which would make sense that the Sasquatch were moving through to get to those higher elevations. And I think in the fall, it's going to be the reverse. They're going to be coming down off the higher elevations, and they're going to be hanging out in this area. So, yeah, it wasn't squatchy, but a good time.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful area. I'd love to bring my dirt bike up here sometime. And yeah, it's an awesome
Tear
area.
up the trails.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that being said, we are really quite hungry. We're going to tear down camp, and we're going to head out today and get back to civilizations. And hopefully we'll be planning some treks in the near future. But that's what's going on right now. Not a lot of activity in the area. And again, we just think those Sasquatch are at the higher elevations right now. But definitely a nice area to kind of monitor and come visit once in a while. And yeah, definitely a good time had by all.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we're going to go find some breakfast.
Yeah, we're starving.
So we came up to this area along the California Sierra Nevada mountains just outside of Sonora to meet a fellow Squatcher and to spend some time in the field. During our investigation, it was clear there were numerous animals in the area. However, we did not find any evidence to conclude the Sasquatch were among them. Though there was plenty of water in the area, the vegetation was dry and the temperatures were quite high. And although there has been a lot of recent activity in this location, I do believe the Sasquatch have moved up to the higher elevations to escape the heat and to search for food. However, I do believe that they will be returning to this area as the weather cools come fall and early winter. And it was also great that my niece Allie was able to drive up and join me on this outing. And hopefully we'll be returning to this area soon, despite all of the challenges we are currently facing with this pandemic. And until then, please be safe and take care of yourselves. I'm Darrin Smith, and I'll see you here next time on SquatchSpot.com.